A huge pattern change is coming on this first official day of spring, which starts tonight at 10:06 p.m. In fact, 36% of you are in fact waking up with a freeze across the US this morning. All those areas that are highlighted in red have reached below the freezing mark, all the way down into the deep south, into the southeast, where they did in fact have those freeze warnings in place. In fact, even southern portions of Mississippi is checking in at 33 degrees this morning. Even New Orleans is a chilly at 47 degrees. So that colder air continues to settle in, and I think we'll have a reinforcing shot of colder air as we head into early part of next week, with actually snow and severe storms as we break down the next 7 days. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I put out a lot of content. In fact, I've actually done 1,400 videos, so I'm pretty much here on a daily basis, keeping you well ahead of the storm. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and follow along. So let's really break this thing down for you. Here's the water vapor imagery this morning. You can follow along with the date upper right hand corner of the screen here. Remember this upper level low that brought all the heavy snow into those areas of Colorado just last week? Yeah, it's still sitting there, folks. It's finally going to be on the move. It's going to be get a little bit of a kickstart. And with that kickstart, that's going to bring a renewed chance of storm development across Texas starting tomorrow. And that will bring the heavier rains across the southern plains again into the southeast, while we watching the northern branch of this system actually going to be bringing a swath of colder conditions and some snow in its wake. So you can see the plunge, the reinforcing shot of colder air further to the north. So we'll have what they call northwest flow trying to come back, which has been pretty much obsolete in a lot of these winter months. These areas across the north have been well above average, and it's going to be completely different over the next 7 days with these colder shots of air coming down from Canada. And there's the renewed forces shot of colder air that will be inundating those areas across the Dakotas, through Minnesota, as well as into Wisconsin. And eventually it's going to bring some snow on the backside. So here's the overall setup on the 500 millibar. You can actually see that northwest flow kind of taking shape. This is your blue line here. This will be this area of convection that will be bringing a swath of snow through portions of Montana, as well as of the Dakotas, into Minnesota, back into Wisconsin. We'll be watching this lower level, that upper level low that's coming out of the desert Southwest, that will have a little bit more lift associated with it. And so once it reaches Texas into Wednesday, we actually could have some severe storms into the Texas Panhandle and further south into the hill country. But by Thursday, those stronger storms will be moving across north and central Texas, parts of Oklahoma, and eventually those will be traversing across into the southeast. So if we take a look at the overall surface map of what that looks like, by the time we head into Thursday morning, there's that swath of rain, and some of these could be on the marginally severe side, so I can't roll out some smaller hail associated with some of these stronger thunderstorms. But it's going to be bring a swath of rain showers across north and central and south Texas, as well as into Oklahoma. Further north, you can see where that red line is, right? That is your freezing line. That's the separation of colder air to the north, and that's the first initial swath of the snow that's going to bring some 1 to possibly 3 inches of snow across the northern tier, with that reinforcing shot of colder air. So as you wake up on Thursday morning, the south misses out on that, but the northern branch gets it. So all those areas across that northwest flow kind of territory is going to be experiencing those freezing temperatures all the way down into Nebraska, coming across Iowa, going through northern Illinois, as well as into Indiana, and eventually reach into the mid-20s up there into Ohio, as well as into Pennsylvania, and get into New England. You can see further south, those areas into Kansas stay into the upper 30s, as far as into the 40s. But we're going to be diving deeper into the forecast. But first, a word from my sponsor. I remember the days I was newly married,
bought a home, and started to raise a family. Getting into debt with the added expenses can be easy to do. Getting out of debt, well, that's more of a struggle. The added stress can seem like there's no way out. But guess what? There is a way out, thanks to PDS Debt, today's video sponsor. I wish PDS Debt was an option back then, but now it is, and I believe it can help you not have the struggles that I did. The cool thing about PDS Debt is that it provides options to consolidate your debt in one easy low payment. Everyone with $10,000 or more in debt is eligible with no minimum credit score required, bad or fair credit accepted. And get this, PDS Debt is a top-rated company on Google with an A+ rating on the BBB. They truly care about getting you out of debt. Save thousands in interest and fees. Pay off your debt in a fraction of the time. PDS Debt is offering you a free debt analysis. It only takes 30 seconds. Head over to pdsdebt.com/pal to get your free debt assessment today. If you're making payments every month on your debt and your balances aren't going down, this program is for you. PDS Debt, helping families break free from debt. Don't wait, take control today. That's pdsdebt.com/pal to take your free debt assessment today.
So let's take a look at the overall water vapor imagery as we head into Thursday. So you can see that upper level low that's coming out of the desert Southwest. It'll be past those areas into West Texas. That'll be highlighted into the Southeast by then. That could bring a renewed chance of showers and thunderstorms. This area has been inundated since March 1st. In fact, Dallas is about 4.5 inches. These areas into the Southeast, 4, 5, 6, some areas of 7 inches of rain into the month of March already, and they're going to be impacted with heavier rains again. But look at the northern branch, folks. These areas have been obsolete with all the snow this winter is finally actually going to be under a gun. And this is the first system. It's going to be a smaller system. So I do feel they're going to be having winter weather advisories across the Dakotas, through Minnesota, as well as into Wisconsin. That will be bringing a shot of snow showers across that region as we head into deeper into the day on Thursday. Highlighted in Thursday night, there's that swath of snow that's coming out of Canada here with that northwest flow through the Dakotas, as well as into Minnesota, back into Wisconsin. There's that southern branch that brings the rains from the upper level low that was out of the Four Corners region, highlighted over Texas, mainly east of the I-35 corridor, but going into Louisiana as we get deeper into the nighttime hours on Thursday. But going into Friday, that southern branch will be highlighted over the Southeast. So I'm not looking for like torrential rains or anything like that, but another 1 to 2 inches of rain is a good bet with this upper level low that will be traversing across through Louisiana, back into Mississippi, as well as into Alabama, into Georgia, through the Carolinas here. There's the northern branch that does bring the snow for those areas that's coming out of Wisconsin, now into Michigan by then, heading into New York, and then eventually this will be heading into those areas into New England as we head into that Saturday time frame going into your weekend. So the colder shot continues to remain on the northern branch. The southern branch gets all the rain. So now by Saturday morning, it will be highlighted over Florida, back into southern portions of Georgia, into the Carolinas. We'll be traversing up the coast there into the East Coast, back into Virginia, into Delaware, into Baltimore, into Washington, D.C. Those areas will be highlighted over New York City. But once you get further north in some of those higher elevations, back into upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and yes, into Maine again, we'll be getting a reinforcing shot of snow entering the picture for them. But going into Sunday, that's where things really start to get interesting. We'll have a little bit more dynamic system. Look at the 500 millibar. This dips pretty strongly further south, and these upper level winds are going to be intense. So this could be a fairly significant severe weather setup and a multi-day severe weather setup with very cold air actually for late March standards on the backside. And that will be bringing a renewed shot, an even heavier shot, likely winter storm warnings in place for those areas in the Dakotas back into Minnesota as we go into that Sunday time frame with heavier snows. And look at the culprit, folks. That is the EPO. That's the dip in the overall teleconnections. That tells you there's definitely some colder air is going to be associated with it. And with that jet stream, it's going to allow to bring that colder air further south. So it's going to bring those colder anomalies, some of those 25, even 30 degrees below average, which you would typically see for late March. So it's not going to be feeling like spring. It's definitely going to be feeling like winter tries to hang on, especially for those areas across the north. And that's going to bring that renewed shot of snow. So this will be an area back into, you get that first shot on Thursday night, heading into Friday. Then you have a reinforcing shot that will be coming in on Sunday across Montana, those areas in the Dakotas, and back into Minneapolis, folks. Yeah, Minneapolis has been crazy, just desperate for snow. They haven't really seen much. They've in fact, I think the last time I looked was 14 inches season to date. That's nothing compared to the 90 inches they saw the year before. You're likely going to be about 45 to 45 inches of snow from average, right? So with this combined system, going to be a 1-2 punch on Thursday and another reinforcing shot on Sunday, you could actually pick up a foot of snow, folks, almost your entire year's worth of snow in just this week alone with these two systems. So yes, we are in fact seeing that El Nino weaken. So with that weakening of the El Nino, the polar jet starts to come alive again. So even though the calendar says, yeah, it's going to be the end of winter heading into spring, the pattern's flipping, folks. So the weakening El Nino puts the placement of snow elsewhere. And so these areas have been a drought-stricken snow is actually going to be seeing the renewed shot of snow with that weakening El Nino going to be feeling the effects. And with that, it's going to bring that colder air back into the Ohio Valley as well as into New England. So if we look at the overall temperature anomalies heading into Monday, you can see that plunge, right? With that EPO going significantly southbound, that brings those colder anomalies back into Montana, back into the Dakotas, and look at there, folks, even in the Texas Panhandle, western Oklahoma, western Kansas, western Nebraska sees that colder shot 20, 30 degrees below average. So you're going to be definitely feeling this colder shot of air, this second shot of colder air, going to be a reinforcing shot as we head towards Easter, which is early this year on the 31st. But the concern is out ahead of it in the warm sector for those areas further south into Texas and through the Ohio Valley, where we are going to be looking at for possibility of severe storms. So it could be a trifecta event. We'll be fine-tuning this as we get closer. So this week, I'm not terribly too concerned about severe storms. Some of these could be marginally on this week's side, but next week, it's a different ball game, folks, especially as we head into Sunday. Monday and Tuesday, we'll be watching the system. So you got the cold air coming in from the northwest. You got the dynamic upper level low, those winds, the jet streak, all that comes into play. And we'll be looking at Sunday highlighted across those areas into West Texas, possibly through western Oklahoma into western Kansas, and then back into Monday through the Dallas-Fort Worth area, through Oklahoma, back into Louisiana, into Arkansas, all the way up to Missouri, likely going to be all the way up into Illinois by then, and then really going into Tuesday, by next Tuesday, highlighted over the Dixie Alley region. So we'll be definitely fine-tuning this, but this does appear right now that could be a significant event with very large hail. You got some colder air, right? You got the cold air aloft. And you got this, shear at the surface, so those could spell some tornadoes as well. So we'll be definitely fine-tuning that. But look at the surface map on Monday, right? So you got the colder air coming in from the northwest, those areas even into western Kansas, folks. Yes, those areas into Kansas could see a little bit of snow with this particular cold front. Even those areas into the far corner regions of the Texas panhandles, likely not out of the question. But out ahead of it in the warm sector, that's where we're concerned about those severe storms and the heavier rains as we get into Monday. So we're likely going to be seeing some slight, maybe enhanced levels of severe storms across Texas, through the southern plains, all the way up to possibly the upper Midwest there as we head into Monday following that pretty significant cold blast. So there's the reinforcing shot and the change that's coming. So we got the initial plunge this morning with the colder shot, and then we got the reinforcing shot that comes in on Thursday ahead into Friday into the northern tier, and then we have another reinforcing shot with that plunge in the EPO from the northwest that traverses down. You can see the separation of the warmer temperatures trying to warm up across the central and eastern 2/3 and definitely get cold again for those areas across the northwest. That's the clash in temperatures where we have to be concerned about severe storms, large hail, damaging winds, isolated tornadoes across this region, and then snow on the backside following the northern branch of this system. So look at the breakdown, folks. This is the two systems. So we got Thursday and Friday, and then we also have Sunday and Monday of next week, and combine those. Even right now on the more conservative National Weather Service model blend. So this takes all the models in consideration and kind of blends them together. Yeah, look at that swath of snow, right? This is something you haven't seen all winter, coming out of Canada, through Montana, back into the Dakotas. Look at that, possibly 15 inches there, potentially in Minneapolis. If you combine those two systems, if that comes to fruition, that will be more snow in these two systems that you've seen all winter, right? So that's a significant change. Definitely is going to be coming on the table, and that snow could reach as far south into western Kansas, pick up a dusting or two, dusting to 1 inch, even in western Kansas, portions of Missouri, even in the northern Illinois, can't roll out some snow into Chicago region, but further north into Wisconsin, they should get clocked with some of these areas of a foot of snow or more through the Dakotas, back into central portions of Minnesota, and that will be traversing across Michigan and heading into New York, and eventually heading all the way up into portions of Massachusetts, into Vermont and New Hampshire, and back into Maine. But here's where the rain prospects lie. So we'll have these two systems. We're going to have the first system that's going to be highlighted over the desert Southwest that'll be traversing across on Thursday and Friday this week through these areas across the South. But we'll have a reinforcing shot with possibly severe storms, mainly highlighted east of the I-35 corridor. This is where we're concerned about the severe storms, definitely some heavier rains. And again, look at that, folks. Those areas into Iowa, southern portions of Minnesota, Wisconsin, these areas have been bone dry lately because of the pattern, right? Stronger El Nino, that's weakening, so things change. So yes, those areas are going to get the heavier rains where they desperately need it. Unfortunately, it could come with some severe storms. So we'll be having to fine tune this, but overall, some beneficial rains will be coming back into some of those areas that desperately need it. And yes, a good amount of snow for those areas across the northern branch as well. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch my next update where I protect you before and after the storm.